describe, Leslie, if you could describe the work that you do with Omaha Land Bank in one word, what would that be and why?
In
That's a
one word.
that's a
And why?
tough one. One word is a tough one. But if you can get it in one word, what would that word be and why? Or if you can get it into a nice little phrase, that'd be nice too.
A tool.
A tool. That's good. Okay. Why do you say that?
Because we take vacant properties and we find people to develop them so that we can put it back into productive use in a way
Mm,
that without having an entity to absorb the risk, it would not exist.
okay, I like that. I like that. Another key word that you mentioned was productive and productive use, so I think that's good. All right, so here we're going to go with the next category about who the Omaha Land Bank is. Could you provide us a brief background on when and why the Omaha Land Bank was established, and what key needs or issues uh in the community led to the formation?
Um, so I went ahead and I put together a document that kind of took a lot of this questions and stuff down. Would it be,
Hmm.
since you're recording to take notes, would
Yeah.
it be able to like send that to you? And
That'll be fine. That'll be fine too. And so especially if you guys have a lot of this stuff already, recorded, put down, that'll be great. All right. So here comes
So
with
real
the
quick,
next.
Leslie, so you're
Sure.
going to send us this document?
well, I thought I could try to send it to you in chat, but
And do you
um,
want to share your screen? I was trying to promote you guys, the panelists, so you could share your screen.
oh, I didn't know what that was about. Can you send it again?
Yeah, 1 second. Yep, just sent it. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen and let's go back to that and let's just, give a summary and see it as well, if possible.
Hmm.
Okay, it just rearranged everything. All right. So yeah, so all of that information is just really kind of described right there. It talks about the Land Bank Act being created and established and how the Land Bank was launched in 2014. Again, we exist as a tool to stimulate the economy by returning vacant properties back into productive use. It is not on us to define what that looks like. It is up to us to find a responsible owner who could make the highest and best use to those properties. And by doing so, we're able to restore the tax base, address instances of systemic vacancy at its core. Ideally, we would like to be able to stop this never-ending cycle of tax debt
Hmm.
properties cycling through, be able to provide a way out of allowing affordable housing and other supportive projects that benefits the existing community in a way where if the private market ran amok, speculative activities would definitely take precedence in how communities are developed and formed. And so the Land Bank acts as a tool in partnership with community to really be able to speak to how and what that looks like moving forward from the community-led efforts.
So that pretty much hits all of it. 1 second. Yeah, that pretty much hits a lot of that. All right, so I have a next question in regarding to some of the operations of the Omaha Land Bank. So the report discusses the core and land bank activities like property acquisition, maintenance, disposition, and compliance monitoring. Could you briefly explain each of those activities in plain language?
Um, at the bottom of this file, you'll see there's a chart that I created that lists all of our core activities and by their program areas. Just essentially the programs that you see: acquisition, maintenance, and disposition. It really are programs that helps us to facilitate the flow of how properties flows in and out of the land bank. Just because we acquire properties, there's still additional work being done to bring them up to par because they arrive in various um, conditions as they've been vacant for some time. We clean them up, we maintain them. Sometimes we look at different ways to work with some of our partners and community members to really help us temporarily activate these properties for like gardens or whatever kind of events or whatnot. And then we also are looking to actively sell these properties in a way that would be able to support long-term community development efforts or helping to address getting these vacant properties turned into housing or parks or whatnot. And so what you see on the left are our program areas. What you see underneath the bottom are individual programs.
Okay.
I'm not really sure to what degree you want details or however, again, I will have them identified in that chart and the document you receive.
Okay. No, this is great. This is really great. Okay. All right. So let's move along. Let's see what else is in here. See if we have everything else lined up together. For community and members interested in participating, what are some of the main avenues for public involvement with the mission?
So we like to say activate your lot transformation journey, or at least I in particular, it is a way to say that developing land is not going to be everyone's goal. However, other people would like to have a say in how their community is being developed, and what that looks like may look different. And we've helped to create platforms of which that can take place. If you are interested in activating your lot transformation journey because you want to develop property, of course, we've got our property sales program. If you're curious about the process and you're thinking that you may want to play a more of a direct role in how these properties get transformed, maybe from a policy lens, fundraising lens, or just want to become much more knowledgeable in how the land bank works, we have our ambassador program, which is a 7 to 9 month cohort where you will do exactly that. We will take a deep dive into the land bank world, meet our board members, meet our partners, learn about the process to such an extent that by the time you finish that program, you would be able to successfully either advocate for how the land bank works and what it stands for, potentially become a board member or a partner, and also be a sounding board. So, not all the times you will agree on everything, but at least you'll have an avenue where that you can vocalize your opinion as an ambassador and be that stakeholder that makes sure that the land bank is being connected to or aware of what the priority needs as on behalf of the community that they're representing. We also are actively working with our partnership network and to do community building work, developing a presence in the neighborhoods throughout North and South Omaha in particular, but throughout Omaha altogether, so that people can become aware about our process, be aware about our properties. If there are some issues associated with our properties, how to contact the land bank so we can remedy the situation. If you're interested in purchasing properties, we've created a successful buyer outreach, which has a marketing lens, a training out lens, where we're able to kind of go through the process of how to purchase properties from the land bank successfully, what that process looks like, and who are the resource providers that you could be connected to, so that if you're interested in purchasing property, you're not just coming to a workshop and just learning about our policies, but you're also being connected to resource providers that can help make that happen.
Mhm.
From each time we do those workshops, the partners rotate out so you can eventually become acquainted with multiple options of resource providers to engage with. We also have pop-up clinics, which is not as much as a formal environment setting. It's a partnership that we will do with a business stakeholder in the community where they'll have a space allocated for us, and they will engage that network to help us really have an office extension in our land bank communities that we're focusing on. Again, North and South Omaha, and we will provide technical assistance with any application needs. And sometimes we'll bring in some of our resource provider partners and the folks so that they can also be able to help. So if you want to like come in and get your application, you have some application questions, or you have an idea, instead of you coming downtown to us, we'll come to North or South Omaha. We'll have someone in maybe from like a finance perspective, someone from do plan, like read your plans, and you'll be able to get some assistance as it pertains to your application needs or land banking needs, or just to meet us. We are wanting to establish a presence, and we look to continue to do that in the next year. We are going to definitely need to have a strong partnership network so that if you are interested in getting more involved in what that looks like as an organization or a community person, we're definitely are very intentional on doing some more development with our partnerships and just continuously networking through leveraging the successful buyer outreach, as well as the ambassador programs, is one of those key ways to get connected in that process.
Yeah, because you actually answered my next question. I was gonna ask about that, which was how they could get in, not how they can get involved, but how they can get connected to those to who they need to get connected to. So that was great. Here's another one for you. So we have the data shows over the past 5 years, thousands of properties were acquired and hundreds disposed to aid neighborhood revitalization. So can you share some of the flagship examples of Omaha land bank redevelopment projects and how they bettered the communities? I think you probably even answered a little bit of that too.
Yeah, your data set is wrong. I know some of the data probably we sent over was probably a little confusing, but from 2018 now, we have disposed 509 parcels.
Okay. Okay.
So from that, those are coming from our property sales and our depository programs. With that being said, we're able to happily share that a lot of the work that we do, there's going to have to be a lens of forgiveness, as there's a 2-year waiting period that's associated. So there's a delayed kind of like return on investment that you see. So just because we make a sell in 2018 or 2023, it doesn't mean you'll see that property being developed at that year, because there's a 2-year time frame that is allocated to them to actually build and complete that development. So what you see today as in terms of improved can come anywhere from maybe top of this year to end of 2 years ago, if not more. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The majority of the properties that were disposed or through our depository program, the legislation has changed a bit. And so you'll likely not see it be that high as well. But that was our way for us to really support nonprofits to really do some strategic land assembly for a long-term project. So if maybe they wanted to build a subdivision where there's like a community, like multi-family apartment community, and maybe not all of the parcels are apparently in their possession, they would be able to use this program over the course of 3 to 5 years to strategically work on acquiring these properties and deposit them in our inventory. And they would have to not worry about having to pay property taxes during that time period. And they would also receive the benefits of having any public liens associated with those properties to be waived, i.e. removing the obstacles for getting those properties financed and developed. Now the legislation has shifted so now that we can only hold their properties up to 12 months. So there's no longer that financial incentive to support affordable housing developments that are led by nonprofits. So right now you're starting to see less and less properties come through. So 200 properties were sold. Of that, I went ahead and worked with the building permit personnel to identify through their collections what kind of economic contribution that those 509 properties provided once they left our inventory. It's really hard to kind of monitor that, but what we were able to use is our partnerships where they are able to identify with each building permit that is pooled for a property that's being developed. There's going to be a process in which, in order to have that occupancy given to that developed property, a final inspection where they will take a look at the built structure and give a thumbs up, and they'll rate based on the value of what that built structure would look like. And so of that 509 properties, the total value of all of the final built construction improvements is around 8.8 mil. So that's 8.8 mil back onto the tax roll and improved. So those are those assets that are contributing from an economic standpoint. And that taxable piece is worth 1 million in property taxes as of today.
Okay. So here's another one. Upon among those properties, what are the main property types that the Omaha Land Bank deals with, and the process that it entails to transform each one of those into community asset?
Okay. I did a presentation a while back, and so what you saw in those last pieces was the last piece of that questions. I can send that as well to you.
Yeah.
But right now we have over 300 parcels. They range in size and zoning types. I don't know what specifically you're looking to accomplish with that data, but I would say the majority of them are residential vacant properties. We do have some instances of commercial and industrial properties, and they range also vacant versus forested. There's a reason why a lot of these properties aren't necessarily gung-ho ready and thirsted after. There's a physical barrier to those properties, and we're working to address those issues in the next coming year. But right now they range, and they're mostly concentrated in North Omaha, primarily, secondarily South Omaha.
Okay. So how do you the Omaha Land Bank, how do you guys measure and track the revitalization outcomes while you're doing that over time? And what impact numbers or stories stand out recently from that?
So the impact numbers I spoke to earlier. So I don't know if you want to just copy and paste that.
Yep.
We are also changing the way that we are looking at data. I think we've had 5 different administrations that's worked for the land bank come in and left. And so there is some data cleanup that we have to do on our end. And so we can't necessarily track apples to apples across the board. A lot of the data that we're looking at is base data that's taking this year as a trailblazing year, as a starter period for that. And so how we've been taking a look at measuring progress and driving impact is, one, stimulating the local economy. How are we doing that? How are we doing that through returning vacant properties back onto the tax roll so that there's more resources available? Of course, we take a look at the taxes that have been restored to the community, the number of parcels that are vacant and now are activate it in some capacity. We're taking a look at the built infrastructure that is now a community asset that can take that, maybe that vacant land that was maybe pooling resources from the community and is now contributing to the local economy. So those are some base data, right? When in terms of how are we looking to kind of support increased development of some of our vacant properties, of course, we want to take a look at some of our sale application leads that we're generating, because one of the goals is to increase our community outreach and community presence so that we are now being able to expand the amount of people that become prospective buyers and empowered to know how to navigate our process to successfully submit an application. So we're trying to measure our lead generation data and converting an event as an opportunity to acquire a lead that would likely become a successful application that is submitted. And then we want to track that all the way to a board approved application. And so that's on one end. So how do we convert people that are coming to our events, people are coming to our booths, people are coming to our clinics, and how do we make sure that we're able to keep that lead so that they submit an application and it's approved by the board? Those are some of the things that we're trying to track that. We have a goal next year to try to make that 15% year over year increase in what that looks like. And so our outreach effort is kind of geared around that. We also are looking at how are we turning some of our applications that are approved into successful close. And so we look at what that sale opportunity is, because once you're board approved, it doesn't mean you're going to close. There's a lot of things that happens in that purchase sales agreement. And so we want to kind of tighten that up so that there's more of a quicker and easy, seamless transition between you're approved to purchase this property, you've got everything that you need to successfully close on that property, and property is successfully closed. We want to tighten that up, and so we're working with our partnerships to kind of help us do that, but we're tracking those numbers month over month and looking to see if we can kind of, right now, it's weird because it's that first year, but we're trying to see if we can kind of identify a trend to see if we can kind of close that loop and increase the number of board approved applications that are being closed by 10% next year. Lastly, what we're also looking at, and this is a little bit more complicated, is being able to make sure that when every property that goes through the land bank that is approved, especially if there's a built structure that is proposed for development, there's a restrictive deed language that's in their deed that becomes released at the completion of that developed structure. And so what we would like to see is more properties being completed for development, and we'd like to see that number diminish over time, because that means that more people are developing those properties. It's going to be a bit of a skew. So we'll have to compare it year over year versus month over month, because everybody has their unique differences. That could be just the type of disposition that's being looked at, and it could also be the level of like month over month. It could fluctuate, because as we're getting more properties developed, you get some properties coming in, and so we just want to see more successful activity year over year go from being in compliance monitoring to actually being completed developments.
Okay. I think that is pretty much all of my questions, but I have one more final question just to make sure we can cover everything. Is there anything that we haven't discussed today that you would like to add to further discuss the work that you guys do at the Omaha Land Bank?
Right now we've got a couple of initiatives that we've got underway that we are planning to kind of see a lot of the fruits of what those efforts are in the coming year. We've started doing our lot transformation methodology that would help us to identify in neighborhoods properties that we can make shovel-ready projects. We think we can pilot this to really be able to support incentivizing housing developments, especially affordable housing developments that are taking place within North and South Omaha. We are looking to be able to get this to such a science that we can apply this with additional funding to the additional lots that this project may not be able to satisfy with. we're hoping to also identify vendors in the community that are live and work and play around our properties. We're looking to identify who they are so that when we are looking to get these properties developed and built, that, you know, we are able to have the opportunity to source some of the investments that's being made in these properties by the people and vendors in the community. And so there's a push in that regard as well. We've created a vendor registration link, and we started socializing that opportunity in the community this year, which will be in full practice. Well, it's in practice now, but we're really trying to push it up next year. For each of our properties, we've also created an cycle of being able to get a third party vendor to help us to truly understand the value of the properties that we have, and to really help us to be able to make sure that people of Omaha are aware about opportunities that are available. And so as of January 1st, we'll have all of our properties listed on MLS in partnership with our brokerage firms that we've contracted with, who basically, in order to even get awarded this contract, really had to be able to prove their familiarity with the neighborhood that they would be representing. I think lastly, we are also working on making sure that the land bank understands that there's always an opportunity for growth. And so with that, there's always going to be a need to constantly reevaluate, reassess. Are we truly trying to, you know, are we truly making the decisions and being conscientious of the impacts that are coming from how we are getting properties in and out of the land bank? So we are working with Center for Community Progress, one of the national partners that are working with land banks across the country, to really help us to make sure that our policies and still are influenced by best practices from a national and practitioner perspective, but also informed by the community here in the ground. And so that process will take place next year.
Okay. So that's pretty much everything that